let's go ahead and work out some examples of this. So let's start with looking at the power. So what's the greatest power? Well, x squared. That's going to be our greatest power. Does it match on the bottom? No. So this is this case where the power is greater than the top. So we know that our function is going to go to either positive infinity or negative infinity. Now notice x is approaching negative infinity. So if you picture our graph, we're curious about this left side. Is our function going up or is it going down? That's what we have to figure out because we're going to the left because it's approaching negative infinity. So what we're going to do is plug in a negative number. If you think about that, and we're only going to look at the top powers. So we're really just focused on 7x squared. You know, we have the minus 2x, but it's kind of insignificant, over 15x plus 5. So we're really focused on 7x squared and 15x. If we plug a negative number in, is it going to be positive or is it going to be negative? Why a negative number? Because we're approaching negative infinity. So what we would have is 7 times a negative squared over 15 times a negative. So if you think about that, 7 times a negative squared is positive. Why is that? Because negative squared becomes positive. Negative times a negative is positive. Times 7 is positive. And then 15 times a negative is negative. So positive over negative is negative. So as x approaches negative infinity, f of x is going to also approach negative infinity. So it's actually going to be, the answer is going to be this one here. It's going to be going down to negative infinity. Let's take a look at another example. So on this example, notice the power on the bottom is now greater. So this one's going to be going to 0. So as x approaches negative infinity, again, it's saying negative infinity. You got to pay attention to that. G of x, instead of f of x, we're calling this one g of x, is approaching 0. Now we got to figure out, is it approaching 0 from the top or is it approaching 0 from the bottom? So I'm going to plug in a negative number. We're going to, once again, we're just going to look at the higher powers. So we're going to look at the 3x cubed on the top because it's more significant, and then negative 9x on the bottom to the 7th power. And so if I plug in a negative number, we would have 3 times a negative cubed over negative 9 times a negative to the 7th. A negative to an odd power is negative, so that's going to be negative on top. And then a negative to odd power is negative, again, times though another negative in the front makes it positive. So this is negative. So it's not approaching negative infinity. Remember, it's approaching 0, but since it's negative, what this is telling us is it's approaching 0 from below the x-axis. And then last, for this one, notice this is the easiest case. So the powers are the same on the top and the bottom. So we're simply just going to take their coefficients. So as x approaches, this time it's positive infinity, g of x is going to approach negative 10 over negative 7. But really, negative over negative is positive.